sent his name and talked. You say? Baba Femi. Yes, that. But yes, that's the guest. The next guest. But once your Zoom is ready, let me know, please.
Welcome back from that break. You're still watching Global Morning, and we're in for our second discourse that is going to take us to the end of the show. We'll be looking at the tax reforms debate, which is still ongoing and causing lots of heated debate amongst the 6 geopolitical zones, especially the northern leaders. They're talking about the Northern Governors Forum, and there are leaders of thought alongside other members of the country making their feelings known as regards the new tax review. But we've got one person who's also speaking. We're talking about Senator Seriki Dixon, who hails from the southern part of the country, also lending his voice to this current debate as regards the tax reform. He did say, we're looking at the PDP Senator Seriki Dixon, said that the tax bills are in the interest of the country, and the Bayelsa West Senator says members of the upper chamber supporting the tax reform bills proposed by Mr. President will resist any intimidation by the bill's critics during the public hearings. Dixon, the former governor of Bayelsa State, stated this while addressing journalists at the National Assembly as regards the issues. Meanwhile, we must know that the 4 tax reform bills passed second reading at the Senate on Thursday. They were referred to the Senate Committee on Finance, chaired by Niger East Senator Sani Musa, for further legislative action, including holding a public hearing. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio also directed the committee to involve the National Economic Council, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and the civil society organizations in public hearings. However, the committee in charge has not fixed a date for the public hearings. The bills are the Joint Revenue Board of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2024. We also have the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill 2024, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill 2024, and the Nigerian Tax Bill 2024. Some Nigerians have criticized the bills, claiming that they favor some parts of the country against other parts. The Northern Governors Forum, during a meeting in October, stated that some aspects of the bills, particularly the VAT component, are against the interests of the region. Consequently, they directed their lawmakers in the National Assembly to reject the bills. Those are some of the talking points making the rounds as regards the rejection of that bill, and has continued to cause a lot of debate amongst Nigerians, and so that has also inspired our talking point on today's edition of the program. Good morning. Hopefully we'll be joined by Baba Femi Momo, who will be helping us to highlight this issue from the nationalistic point of view, what it means for the country, and who is going to benefit. Is it going to be just a certain region, or it's going to be encompassing for the 6 geopolitical zones? This morning, earlier on, we had Ben Shimang of Dr. Vela African Service did come out with the stance that the fact that the bill did originate from the presidency, the executive, made it look suspicious, and at the pace it was going, also did make it uncomfortable for the lawmakers from the north. He said rather it would have been, it would have been emotion being moved by one of the lawmakers from the south, northeast, that might have made it a little bit easier. But the fact that it has gone through the first and second reading makes it very interesting for Nigerians to see how this is going to pan out in the coming days and weeks, especially now that the presidency just yesterday did meet with some group of lawmakers as a way of ironing out the gray areas so that the bill can have its safe passage for the third reading, and the president obviously would have to assent to it, knowing fully well that it did originate from the presidency. But the question still is why trust amongst Nigerians, amongst from the presidency to the lawmakers and to the citizenry? Why is there no mutual trust that whatever is being brought forward is for the good of the country? So it tells us that there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of harmonizing and bringing back the spirit of oneness in Nigeria. Not saying it in lip service, but in action, and so it means a lot has to be done. All right, I think we've got a guest who should be joining us right now, in the person of Babafemi Momo, who's an economist, a public affairs analyst, to help us look at these very issues from a nationalistic point of view, and not because one is from the south, east, west, or north. All right, let's see if we've got Babafemi Momo. Good morning, Babafemi Momo. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Anthony. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
All right. I know you're aware of the issue in terms of the national tax reforms that's ongoing and that has caused lots of debates. What's your take on the new tax proposed by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony, for that question. I would like to start by appreciating the administration of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy on Tax Reforms Committee, that's Mr. Tayo Oyedele, for his doggedness, and that of the entire committee members for proposing the landmark reforms under the following bills. The first one is actually the Nigerian Tax Bill 2024, Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and then Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. Now, to start with, the bills will indeed ensure that the taxes generated in each state of the Federation are adequately reflected for the requisite state. Now, we know that the head offices of most companies reside in Lagos, and what has been happening over the years is that taxes for economic activities generated in different states of the Federation were actually captured for Lagos. But with this reform, corporations like MTN and Dangote Group, which are the largest contributors to tax generation, and other companies alike, can generate data as per the taxes generated in each state of the Federation, and as such ensure requisite capturing under the respective states. Thank you.
All right, let's have you given us that first salvo. Let's look at because the question is for low-income earners and high-income earners. What should they expect in this new regime that has been so controversial already?
All right, thank you. That's indeed an insightful question there. Now, very commendable is the fact that tax will be abolished for a greater percentage of Nigerians earning below ₦1 million. Now, close to 86% of Nigerians belong to this category.
Okay.
Same also goes for businesses with turnover less than 50 million, but we have high net worth individuals pay more. Now, this will indeed promote a healthy competition amongst all states of the Federation, and as such ensure the tax generated in each state of the Federation is captured accordingly. Now, I therefore expect each state to formally migrate a lot of businesses from the informal sector to the formal sector, and I believe this will positively proliferate our GDP and increase our productivity as a nation. Thank you.
All right. Still looking at that issue of the low-income earners and the high-income earners at the state level, how does this help the state government increase their IGR?
Yes, no doubt, because a lot of businesses in the state are going to be, migrated from the informal sector to the formal sector, right? So a lot of businesses will come into the tax net and you expect them to pay their internal generated revenue. So that will also have a positive impact on the internally generated revenue of the state.
Okay, generally speaking now, what's the prospect of growth in terms of our GDP, looking at this new regime?
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, of course, we know that GDP grew by 3.46% in the third quarter of 2024 and was initially projected to grow by 3.2% by the end of 2024, according to IMF.
Okay.
But with the adoption of these tax policies and the formalization of more businesses from the informal sector into the formal sector and a healthy competition amongst all the states of the Federation, our GDP has the capacity to grow by a minimum of 6% in the year 2025. This is undoubtedly so, because with these tax policies, Nigeria will be able to attract more investment into distinct sectors of the economy, hence positioning our economy towards hitting the $1 trillion mark projected by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is expedient to note that with these tax policies, investment sum or capital outlay in businesses will be secluded from tax, hence motivating investors to invest into businesses as tax payable will only be charged on the profits for the accounting period. Thank you.
All right, based on your analysis thus far, can we say that these new tax policies and regime would have a very positive impact on job creation? And also looking at the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria that has always complained of resources, do you think it's going to also improve productivity?
Now, no doubt, with the adoption of these tax policies, we are certain that there will be a proliferation in job creation across the length and breadth of the Federation, based on resources available in each state of the Federation, and this will no doubt increase the productivity of the nation. Now, I'm certain that we are aware that unemployment rate reduced from 5.3% in the first quarter of 2024 to 4.3% in the second quarter of 2024. But with the adoption of this set of tax policies, we are confident of increased job creation and a downward trend in unemployment rate even more. Now, also noteworthy is the fact that the Performance Managers Index, that's PMI of the country, which measures the productivity of the nation, increased to 49.60% in the month of November 2024 from 46.90% in October 2024, which is below 50 index points, thus signaling contraction. Now, factors such as currency depreciation, inflation, and insecurity were responsible for this PMI index, which may undermine investor confidence. But with the adoption of these expansionary tax policy measures, we are convinced that PMI will soar well above 50 index points with increased job creation and proliferated productivity. Thank you.
So can Nigerians believe that these policies, from your analysis, is going to impact on other sectors of our national life? How well would this impact?
It is going to impact positively on our national life. No doubt about that, considering the fact that, with this set of expansionary tax policy measures, jobs indeed are going to be created, productivity will increase, GDP indeed will also increase sporadically, and no doubt also the purchasing power parity of Nigerians will also increase, and the disposable income of Nigerians will also increase because jobs will indeed be created. Thank you.
All right. I'm just curious to know if there's any correlation between these policies and also in terms of production. Is there a tally amongst these two?
Yes, certainly. This set of tax policies will completely migrate our economy from being highly import dependent to being a production-based economy with the opening of production in the manufacturing sector and agro-allied industry alike. Now, the fact that different states of the Federation are blessed with diverse agrarian and other natural resources such as minerals, makes these tax policies extremely potent in spiraling production across the entire value chain. Thank you.
All right. With what you just, the answer you just given out, doesn't this mean that the Northern Governors Forum and other leaders of thought from the Northern region shouldn't be worried, meaning that this already means it gives a chance for everybody across the 36 states of the Federation the chance to increase their IGR?
Yes, I completely agree with you. That is the same way, I believe our governors, of course, quite a number of them have agreed with this perspective already. You have a governor of Niger State that is doing incredibly well, with respect to the resources available in Niger State. You have a governor of Nasarawa State, who is already tapping into the available resources in his state to actually create jobs. Of course, you know about the lithium factory in Niger State,
Sure.
which actually, to a certain level, utilizes the lithium deposits in that state, for the production of solar panels and batteries, so to speak. So you have quite a number of states already responding in that direction. And of course, the North, to a certain level, I'm sure that the North also is blessed with livestock. I mean, that's one thing that they are so good at, so to speak. And the president has been so magnanimous to come up with the Ministry of Livestock. And this, to a very large extent, is going to contribute positively to the economy of the North. I can go on and mention different states of the North and tell you, the different resources that they can actually leverage upon, leveraging on these expansionary tax policy measures to actually increase their IGR. For example, Gombe State has arable land for ginger, for groundnut, for sesame seed, for tomatoes, and what have you. Jigawa has arable land for cotton, for garlic, for hibiscus, for groundnut, for soya bean, for sesame, for pepper, for tomatoes, for wheat, and what have you. Now, Kano State has humongous arable land for groundnut, for tomatoes, for onions, for rice, for cotton, for garlic, hibiscus, sesame, and several other agricultural products. So I can go on and on, right? Now, the idea is that with this set of tax policies, right, I believe that leaders in the North can actually begin to attract investments into their state, so to speak, and connect agricultural produce with quantum manufacturing into finished agricultural produce for meeting local demand and also exportation purposes. And that will actually help us generate substantial foreign exchange and, of course, help us revalue our economy, so to speak. So I believe all the northern governors, so to speak, have a reason to work with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to make this tax policy a reality. Thank you.
I'm sure already the northern governors, if they are listening right now, will be convinced and would want to sit back and say, we've got a gold mine in our hands. All right, now that we've opened the can of goodies that awaits the 36 states of the Federation as regards this, new tax reform. Can you give us an inkling to the persons authorized to file in tax returns? Because this is very key.
Okay, so now every taxable person shall that's in line with the proposed tax policy to be signed into law.
Okay.
Every taxable person shall, on or before the due date, submit a self-assessment tax return with the relevant tax authority in accordance with the relevant provisions of the Act. Now, the Nigerian Revenue Service shall be charged with the powers of assessment, collection of, and accounting for the revenue accruable to the government of the Federation, more or less. Thank you.
All right. There's always one of the key reasons why there's this tax reform is the fact that the government has said before now there's this issue of multiple taxation, overlapping of different agencies doing the same thing. There's always this rift between the taxpayer and the tax collecting agencies. How do you see Can you specify what the rules are likely to be once this new tax reform gets into implementation stage?
Okay, so it is expedient to mention at this point that these tax policies, when signed into law, will indeed harmonize all our taxes, so to speak, streamline it to a large extent.
All right.
Multiplicity of taxes will become a thing of the past. Having said that, I'm sure you are aware that FRS will be abolished and replaced with Nigerian Revenue Service under the new tax policy, more or less. Thank you.
All right. Just to look at other issues, do you have any concerns with any of the parts of the proposed tax policies, and why? And what is your recommendation as regards those areas you think are gray areas?
Okay, so in looking at the tax policies, right, one part of it that caught my attention when having a cursory review is section 34, subsection 1 of the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill. Now it says, where a taxable person has not delivered a tax return as provided under this act, and the relevant tax authority is of the opinion that such taxable person is liable to pay tax, it may, to the best of his judgment, determine the amount of tax due from the taxable person and make assessment accordingly. Now, I believe that with all bank customers having a BVN, right, the Nigerian Revenue Service or the collecting body should be able to ascertain if an individual is yet to carry out a taxable transaction, just so that we are certain that we are not charging an unearned income. I would like this part to actually be looked into. That's a concern I have. Thank you.
All right. As we wrap up our conversation, what would be your final words as regards this tax reform bill, in terms of your final words to the presidency, the lawmakers, the citizenry, and those who will be paying these taxes? And do you think there's need for more sensitization and awareness and deliberate effort by the government to ensure that when these taxes are paid, Nigerians can actually see the benefit and the usage of these taxes?
Okay, I'll start with the last thing you asked with respect to sensitization before I give my final words.
Okay.
Right? I believe that a lot of sensitization will indeed be done by the government, because no doubt people need to know across different parts of the country, about the new set of tax policies, especially when signed into law. Quite a number of businesses for now may not be aware. So a lot of sensitization needs to be done with that regard, and I believe the government will take adequate step in that direction. Now, my final words, it is indeed a sine qua non that with the adoption of these proposed tax policies, the diversification initiative of the federal government will be further sustained, hence spiraling activities across different sectors and subsectors of the economy, including agriculture, manufacturing, minerals and mining, services, oil and gas and petroleum industry, financial industry, art and culture, entertainment, education, health, etc. Hence, proliferating activities across the entire value chain, and as such increasing the GDP and productivity index of the country, thus creating quantum jobs for the teeming Nigerian population and positioning us to hit the $1 trillion mark projected by Mr. President very quickly. Now, this will also enrich all the states of the Federation. Hence, I recommend that once the teething issues are corrected, it should be passed into law to ensure an accelerated growth of the economy. Thank you.
All right, that's where we're going to call it a wrap on today's discussion. I want to say a big thank you to one of Nigeria's finest economists in the person of Babafemi Momo. Thank you for joining us on Global Morning, and thank you for your very deep analysis, making the tax reform bill simpler to understand. And I guess even the Governors Forum and anybody watching or listening would get a very clear cut of what the tax reforms would bring to not just the state government but Nigeria as a whole. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Such a pleasure being with you.
All right, that's we're talking with one of Nigeria's finest economists in the person of Babafemi Momo, who joined us to give us a clearer picture. We'll go for a quick break. When we return from this break, we'll be wrapping up Global Morning. Please stay with us.